What's going on? What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the show. Happy Wednesday. Back at it again with another live session. Trading ES here on Top Step X. We're going to be checking out what Jerome Powell is doing to the markets here. Got a couple trades in this morning. As you can see here, I'm right on the Top Step X Combine. This happens to be two accounts daisy chained together. Small win, two small wins. Getting long. This was getting long right off this level here. Pulled back down, kind of a fake out move, tapping against prior day high, right up around the highs of pre-market. Pulled back down, wanted to get long down here, was waiting for it to tap VWAP for a really aggressive entry. Let me zoom out and make sure that this is all kosher. Cool. We didn't really get that, right? We stayed above that. I got long somewhere over here. And stop loss initially way down here just to let it kind of do its thing. Got stop loss to break even, targeting this level right here. Looking at orders on Bookmap, we had liquidity sitting right here, building up. That played out very nicely. Quick win. I called out in my Discord. Guys, go back and take a look. If you're on here and you're not in Discord, hop in Discord and tell me I'm full of shit. That before Powell started speaking, I wanted to get out. Didn't want to stay long. I said I would have stayed long if he wasn't speaking because we had orders stacking up right here at this round number, 56.50. Take a look at what price did. Came right to 56.50. Does that always happen? No. Could you have targeted that level without using any form of order flow? Maybe. But I would really be lying if I said order flow hasn't been insane to watch. Insane, especially with ES on the time frames that I trade. Very, 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 very interesting to watch when liquidity starts stacking up and you are looking to trade in that direction anyway. You're using your price action, your market structure, your levels, your volume, everything else, using Bookmap and order flow, checking out the order book and seeing where orders are, when they're there, the quantity that they're in, for targets, for stops, for deciding, how to structure your trades and when to take them, really, has been a game changer. So I'll show you guys Bookmap here in a minute. For right now, we've got the Top Step X platform. If you guys got questions, feel free to ask them in the chat as I'm here looking to take some trades. That is why I do this. Be able to talk to you guys, answer questions, show you what my trading looks like, and hopefully you find value. You maybe want to hop in the free community. Free Discord. Only time I'll say it since I got the little writing up here. Free Discord. Community of traders growing. No VIP paywall. I trade live almost every day here on YouTube directly from Top Step X, showing you my P&L, showing you the wins, the losses, everything. News every day. Market analysis every day with my charts, my levels. Usually a couple minutes in a voice message explaining what's there, what I'm looking at, and why. And answering questions. Hop in there now before we grow too much, and I'm really not able to provide everybody the personal answers that I try to. So we're here bouncing directly off VWAP, talking about what's going on here. Obviously, if we zoom out, get rid of that for a little bit. If we zoom out, obviously we're on the 1 minute here. This is all-time highs, right? We've continued to put in all-time highs, kind of consolidated here in this little range. If I'm looking at this pre-market, this is 2 a.m. Eastern. Started to push up, really following this really strong buyers in control bullish trend. Pulled back down to VWAP. That's why I was looking to get long, trade along with this trend here in pre-market, back up towards this prior day high, pre-market high. Even if we're going to have a rangy consolidating day, I figured I could capture a few points in that direction. That worked out well for me. Again, would have held it for a breakout, at least one of the two contracts that I was in, targeting this level up here. But we got Jerome Powell talking right now. That started at 10 a.m. ForexFactory.com. That's where I get my news from. If you guys want to check out financial news, events, things like the Fed chair testifying and speaking and potentially impacting the markets, that's where I find that. So right now we're down at VWAP. So we opened up bullish on the front end, tapped prior day high, kind of right into this area here, rejected off that pretty nicely. I'm sure that caught a couple of people getting long way up here. Pulled all the way back down, didn't quite hit VWAP. I will throw on here just to take a look. That's New York session, anchored VWAP. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go low of session VWAP and high of session VWAP. Anchored VWAPs, rather, for now. Yeah, pulled down, pushed up, kind of choppy throughout this. Not too choppy, really. Nothing crazy, wicky down to the upside. Came all the way up to 56.50, the level I was looking at on Bookmap, where we had not an enormous amount, but definitely orders stacking up that was coming in along this time frame. Obviously, looked real, looked like it was going to sit here, and it did. Came all the way up there, and since then we've been selling off all the way back down to VWAP. Just tapped it, and it looks like we're struggling to go lower. I'm not ready for, or at least I wasn't ready for a super aggressive entry right here off of VWAP. Sometimes I'll do that, take an aggressive buy or a sell off of one of my levels or tools that I use. I'm not really ready to do that. I'm going to wait to see if we look like we're going to come farther back down into this range. Maybe I'm going to look for a short. If we're going to pull back and then start to continue up here, and maybe we're going to get a trend day out of this, market's going to like what Jerome Powell has to say. We're going to follow the high time frame structure, the low time frame structure, start breaking out to the upside, kind of get that slow grind that we get sometimes on ES. I may look for the long, but I'm pretty flexible right now. As a whole, I'm trying to stop hitting the sell button as much as I can. My data shows me I should stop doing that. Most of the wins and the larger wins are coming from buys. It's pretty obvious why. Stock markets go up in general. So let's see what happens here. Quick buy off this area, maybe targeting pre-market high. Probably would have played out nice so far. We are back below this anchored VWAP, the low of session, right? Not low of day. Low of the New York session anchored VWAP. That tells me, sellers stepping in. We got somewhat of a high put in. We're staying below the high of session anchored VWAP. Kind of right up around these levels still above, the standard session VWAP. So reading market structure, price action, using some of these tools kind of secondary. Not secondary, I use them all together. I'm not ready for a buy or a sell just yet. I'm just kind of going to wait and see, but I am looking to get involved and get some trading in here before New York lunch session. That's the New York lunch, I should say, 12 p.m. It's kind of the cutoff time for me if I'm going to trade that long, all the way from 9:30 a.m. to 12. Probably fatigued enough to say I'm not going to really make another great trading decision, and I don't want to be sitting through traditionally low volatility. What is up, Andre? What's going on, my man? Cool. Let's take a look at Bookmap. Let's throw this over here. Let you guys see what we're looking at here on Bookmap. I won't go through explaining all of it. Did a little bit of that yesterday. Won't bore you guys. You can go back and take a look. But this is the current order book here. This is where we're seeing, I said I wasn't going to explain. Current order book, 2 different volumes. Live orders displayed in the heat map. Historical orders displayed in the heat map. Changes as you zoom in and out, as you change the amount of data that's showed on the chart. But as you could see here, not a whole lot. This is what I was looking at that 56.50 level, right? This is what I was talking about. Here's price coming in here, 945, 950. Take a look at orders stacking up here at this level, and then look at them really staying on the book, right? This is how we could tell that it was real indeed. Staying on the book, stacking up as we came up to that level, and then starting to fill. Really, that just below, 56.50, starting to fill. Right here. Interesting, we came up to it and then needed to come back up. And then right from there, started to come off of it. So, Bookmap, man. I'm not the expert yet. Just really getting comfortable with it. But it's been exciting to use so far and to start to learn. So, outside of just the what people refer to as like the algorithmic liquidity, this kind of liquidity that just stays above and below price at, a couple points above and below, which isn't really helpful for me. I don't see a whole lot outside of that right now. I don't see a ton of orders that I would want to be looking at any price level. I do see this down here at 56.40. That looks like the area that it's headed to, right? Like we could see this staying on the book right here. Not a massive amount of orders, but that's kind of the only thing that I see. Nothing crazy. We don't have one of these levels lit up in red down here where we've got a ton of orders on the book that we want to pay attention to. So obviously this changes consistently throughout the day. It could change pretty quickly. You could have orders come on and off. You do have to pay attention to it if you're going to try to utilize it. But 56.40 looks like an area, if we're going to continue lower, that we might come and test. There's not a whole lot above it that I want to see that it wants to go up and grab. Sorry, I don't mean to make you guys dizzy with it. I'm just kind of like, I move it around a lot so I can just visualize where stuff is. I like to have quite a bit of price on here. Like this is pretty too zoomed in for me, I think. But gives you a little bit clearer view of each price level. Something along these lines, showing about 45 minutes to an hour worth of time, I think is pretty good. Something like that. Yeah, so let's watch 56.40 if we're going to look at Bookmap and then just see kind of what comes on and off. As I see stuff that's interesting on Bookmap that I want to talk about, I will show you guys that chart. If you want to see it at any point, throw it in the chat. I'll throw it up. But yeah, if I look at 56.40, let's just mark it for fun. Let's use a horizontal line instead of a ray. Just so we can see what we're looking at. A little bit above yesterday's volume point of control, obviously right at the top of all these highs. So it's definitely an area that was tested as resistance. Now might be flipped support. You can see the consolidation that came in there. It's just below this low, happens to be where it's resting right now. So, but again, not a whole lot. It's actually even lightened up now. So it's not something that I would be paying a massive amount of attention to, but enough to look at it. Not going to leave that on my chart. What's up? Sounding more healthy today, bro? Yeah, feeling better, man. I appreciate you asking, man. Feeling much better. Was sick on and off. Don't know what the hell's been going on with me. Bunch of BS. Did a lot of traveling, so that very well could have been it. But yeah, man, feeling much better. I'm probably, let's say 95%. Still a little nasally, still like blowing my nose nonstop. But if you hear me sniffling or coughing, that's the reason. So apologies if I don't sound like I have that real nice, smooth, deep radio voice for you guys. But working on it. Maybe uptrend restart. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at, right? Like I'm really close to wanting to get long here. I'm tempted to do it with a wide stop that I run initially because maybe we do want to come down here, kind of pick up liquidity that we're seeing on Bookmap down at this area. But this looks like we're struggling to get past the session VWAP, past this, this area here that we've traded. It looks like, buyers are trying to maintain control of this to the best of their abilities, but it looks like we may want to come deeper into this range. I like a long from here. I probably wouldn't throw a stop loss just down here. I'd want to be pretty far away from that level, maybe down near the volume point of control, where if we needed to pull back up here, I'd pull down here, I'd survive that, and maybe we wanted to react and then continue higher. But getting long here would certainly catch this if this is indeed just nice market structure to the upside. So I'm going to watch what happens here, and I may have a long play coming up. That's kind of what I'm looking at here, right? Something along those lines, following this market structure here from pre-market, right? This looks okay. we didn't start to bounce here really aggressively, so that concerns me, right? Like the move back up failed. Here's your play to pick up a few points, though, using VWAP super aggressively, buying and selling off these levels. You didn't really get it here, but can definitely make that work. Taking a look at Bookmap. Yeah, nothing nothing major. Nothing major. There's definitely some levels above and below that I'm paying attention to, even farther above and farther below with light amounts of orders, but nothing super strong just yet. 1049, we're digesting that pal yapping, so we'll have to see. Bruce Lee in the Discord says, "Boy, I so despise the Great Wall of VWAP." Kyle, what's up, my man? How we doing? What's going on? Got some boys from Discord in here. Welcome back to the show. I like this long. Still do. I think I just might wait for it to start at this point. Might wait for this type of a move to start. Get in a little bit late. We're kind of consolidating now, right? If I look at the real low time frame structure, we came down, pulled up, came down, pulled up, didn't get above this high, came down again to the VWAP, right within a tick of it, failed to get below this low. Now we're kind of creeping back up. So are we going to start to break down below this VWAP with some force? Look like we're going to head lower, maybe down towards that 5340 volume point of control, back into the range. Are we going to start to break up? And, we're going to trend higher today. So, gun to my head, I'm taking it long. Stop loss way down here. That's definitely not a bad play. Something along these lines. I would really want to run a pretty wide stop, which again, if I'm going to capture a move to the highs, even a 1-to-1, it looks something like that. I'd want to be at least like 2 points below this. Yeah, maybe we don't need to get that wide, something like that. And you could just target the previous high of day. But if I zoom out, do we have potential to come back in here? For sure. We're coming back down into this range. I think there's definitely potential to come right back down towards this volume point of control, and just have it be one of those choppy, rangy days where maybe we look for some moves to and from levels inside this range. So let's see what we could do. Kyle says, about to break even today. I'm on YM right now, first day. Copy trading on Tradeovate. Old school. It's on Ninja Trader. Cool, man. Cool. Yeah. It's news. He says news was weird today. It's anytime that Jerome Powell's speaking, it kind of throws things. It's red folder. Market hangs on everything that he says. Questions that he's asked, and it's not a data release in the way that NFP or the Fed rate comes out and then you get the reaction right away. You get the quick volatility, and then just the after effects from it. it's him speaking. It's a conference or he's answering questions, so market can just hang on what's going on, and maybe it starts ripping up and then pulls way back down. It can kind of be all over the place. So it's a word of caution there. Can you take a look at gold? I could try to take a look at gold later. What's going on, my man? I'm not going to watch gold right now. This is part of my morning session where I like to be focused. I like to get my trading in. I've just had a lot going on in the afternoon and haven't been getting a lot of trading in the afternoon. So I've been moving some of these up for you guys, getting a little bit more action in. Just like yesterday, got a nice win, mapped out a second trade that I said I wasn't taking. Just didn't have the conviction needed, but it was another one. Targeting Bookmap showed you guys exactly what it was, and that one hit to the tick as well. So interesting. But yeah, I'll take a look at gold maybe later on if we before wrapping up here. But for right now, I'm watching the market with some focus. Looking at Bookmap again. Yeah, I think we're going to trend down through this VWAP and come to fill those orders near that 5640 level. Again, not a whole lot, but it's something that's been sitting there. Not enough for me to get short on it. Not a great real way to structure risk and a target that is in a great spot. But let's see what happens. That's what we're talking about here. This level right below these lows. Just to give you guys some of my so far my thoughts on it. If I am targeting a level, I'm not trying to capture the entire like above that or past that price. I'm probably going to go a point below or, a few ticks, 2 or 3 ticks below whatever that is. I do that with most of my targets. If I'm targeting a certain area or a level, I'm not trying to capture every last tick out of the move. You'll give back stuff. You'll miss the move. Doesn't always get to that area. Your zones might not be exact. What it does right around that area is not exact. It's not guaranteed. So, being a little bit more conservative when it comes to like the last couple ticks of the move. So like had I been short somewhere, targeting liquidity that I'm seeing somewhere around that 5640, I'm probably going 4075, something like that. Like I'd probably be into that right there. 3 or 4 ticks above. 3/4 of a point above. Now coming through VWAP, back down in. I'm going to see what happens if we get down here. We're going to watch that. But again, now we're staying below this high of day VWAP. We are cracked below the low of session VWAP. Back down below pre-market high, prior day high. So we're back into the range, and now we're cutting through session VWAP. So let's see what starts to happen. But yeah, these orders are still in the book. So I'll show you guys Bookmap again. See what I'm talking about. That's what I'm looking at right here. $56.40. They've stayed on. It's come, this kind of algorithmic, that tracks price liquidity has come down through it, but that is still sitting there that you can see. If I zoom in, it shows even more prominently on the heat map. Again, I don't think relatively from what I watch that's a massive amount. We might see it come right off the book, might be spoofing. That's something you have to watch for with using order flow, orders that come on and off the market. But that's what I'm looking at there. Yeah, short to Asia low. We had guys talking about this, 40 minutes ago, almost 56.40, targeting to move back down. Someone someone posted the couple memes and yeah, hop in the free Discord if you're not. It's fun stuff, productive, but we have fun. It's not Wall Street bets. It's not a bunch of green P&Ls with 10,000% profit and no explanation. I make people explain if they're going to post stuff like that, but we still have fun. We still get the GIF or the meme in there. It's all about timing it right. Yeah, interesting markets to trade though, man. This repetitive all-time high stuff with nothing to the left, it's it's interesting to trade for sure. It's something that you should get used to if you're going to trade, U.S. indices. They go up, right? You're not going to have that nice steady incline over a large number of years if you're not putting in all-time highs at a regular interval. So it's part of it, but it's definitely interesting. Definitely interesting to trade. So slow grind back down the into the range, kind of headed towards that 5640 level that we've been watching since the beginning here on Bookmap, where we got some orders resting. I'm now waiting to see have I not been looking at Bookmap? Maybe I got aggressively long here. Taking this as just a buy right off VWAP. Would have either gotten out for a profit up here, probably not. Probably would have taken a break-even stop out. I don't think I would have let it come up this far and then reject that hard and not been stopped out at break-even. So nothing too crazy for me just yet on this price action. Now that we're coming back in, seeming to come through VWAP. If I'm going to trade to and from this, I would be looking for price to come down through it, pull back up, continue to reject, continue to show bearish price action, and then target something lower. But right now, I'm just watching that fun Bookmap level. We're going to see what happens. See if we get down to 56.50, 56.40.5 or 3/4. Again, this is the area that I said I would have been targeting, and there you go, right down into it. Telling you, man. I'm telling you, it's interesting to watch Bookmap. That's all I'm gonna say. I haven't been on it for long enough to really speak with a lot of experience and data watching it for days and weeks and through different market conditions, but it's wild. It's wild to use. That's what I will say. Now let's see what happens down around this level. Cracked below this low. Do we see follow through? Are sellers going to hold this? Are they going to continue to pull this lower? Or are we going to start to react to the upside here? Are we going to react really violently? Are we going to start to just form some bullish structure? Are we going to continue lower? Maybe we're going to mess around here for a little bit and start faking people out. But this is not a bad spot to watch. So I'm glad we got it going on now, and we'll see if we can get a trade coming up. That's kind of what I like to see at the open. That's kind of the event. That's kind of what I'm waiting for, and then I'm going to trade price action and market structure after that. Throughout the day, I want to wait until we get to some kind of a pivotal point that's going to allow me to structure risk in a way that makes sense to me. I'll kind of wait for us to get there and then look to see what happens. Like, okay, now we're pushing through this. Sellers are stepping in, or not stepping in. They've been in, staying in control. We're coming back down through this, or at least we're retesting this level again. So, let's see, does this continue lower? And then, do we start to find support anywhere? Do buyers start to take control at any point? Or, are we just going to be pulling back and, making these nice clean breaks? Oh, there we go. Back up to VWAP violently. So let's see. We're in that wait and see mode right now. Yeah, Kyle said I try to explain myself. Yeah, I hear you, man. As far as like if we're talking about news and fundamentals, um, I don't think there's so much to be gained trying to figure out, or I don't think there's a lot to be gained trying to figure out the why behind every single price movement. Um, if you're trading price action and market structure and you're using these technical tools, use those tools. The market is unpredictable. Kind of make peace with the not having a clear answer as to why behind every price movement. I try to make peace with it, understanding that the market's driven by people. It's their reactions, their interpretation of things in the outside world that are driving these movements. And people are irrational. They aren't always very predictable. They don't respond in the way that makes sense all the time. And just trade your technical tools. I think it can lead to a lot of frustration and confusion. People say things like the market should be doing this. Well, it should, but it doesn't have to do. Maybe it should, based on whatever your interpretation is, based on this rate change or the way that somebody answered something. But it doesn't have to do any of that. It's going to do whatever it wants to do. So just read your price action, read your market structure, find your system that works, and and trade with that. That's my 2 cents. Otherwise, you drive yourself crazy. Yeah, so it looks like it didn't really come all the way down into that 5640 level, and it looked like as it started to, orders lightened up. So they were coming off the book without filling from what I could see from at least from Bookmap. So interesting to watch that. Yeah, I like this more for a long, guys. Um, I'm not I'm not sold on this needing to continue lower, and I like this for a long coming up. Here was its chance to react and then push lower, but we didn't get that. Now we're coming back up to break the most recent 1 minute high, come back and challenge these anchored VWAPs back up towards pre-market high and prior day high. So I do like this for a long. Yeah, I'd still want to run a fairly wide stop, which I don't love having to do. Capturing a 1-to-1 out of it. Out of initial risk, again, the more that I trade this discretionary system, the less that I like to look at the initial risk to reward, because I manage my trades. I cut losses. I change things throughout the position as more price as price prints. But I do like to take into consideration um, where I would be placing the initial stop loss, even if I'm planning on potentially moving it up. Not moving it further away and taking on more risk that way. Waiting to see what's happening here, guys. Yeah, a lot of volume to the upside as well. Just looking at like traditional volume on that initial spike back up. I'd have to take on at least 6 to 7 points initially, if we started to reject right down from that. Not a whole lot from Bookmap. There are some orders right around that 56.48 level that look like they're stacking up there.
Order filled.
I'm getting long on this one, guys. I'm gonna run this one. I'm at uh, I'm at 300 of profit on the day across these two accounts. I'm willing to give back half of that to my max stop level in the pursuit of this trade. I like the structure shifting. I like the way that we came back down using Bookmap all the way to that level that we were looking at. There looks like there still is orders on the book down here, so I want to run a stop, somewhere down below this level, um, to survive a pullback all the way down. I don't know that I would still really want to be long down here. For now, I'm going to leave my stop loss at, let me just edit this a little bit. Yeah, 56.30 at 50, that's fine. I'll leave it there for now. Um, and I'm just going to manage this one. I see orders starting to come back on. If I zoom out around that 5650 level, all the way back up here towards the highs. So I like that towards a target. As a target, I'm going to manage this one, as I always do, to the best of my abilities, on price action, on market structure, on volume. Um, just watching what happens. Do we continue through this level? Do we continue to form? Do we pull back down and then continue to form some bullish price action? Or are we just going to sell off and go right to a stop loss? And maybe I cut the trade, maybe I adjust targets, adjust stop loss, add to it, do one of a number of things. 56.47. Yeah, there's some orders on the book. Retest a VWAP. Let's kind of see what we get here. Someone says good luck. Yeah, no luck needed, man. It's all good. Market's going to play out the way that it's going to play out. Loss or win, you just got to trade your system, trade your approach. There's normal losses, there's normal wins, and then there's stuff that's outside of your system that you really don't want to be taking. So I appreciate it, but what I try to display here is the real side of it. I'm gonna take losses. I don't have some magical 90 or 80% win rate. So there's gonna be a number of losses that I take. That's totally cool. I just have to understand, do I have a good way to structure risk? Do I have a reason to be taking this trade that fits my approach? My intuition, my experience is telling me to take this, along with all the technical reasons I have to enter it. Manage it to the best of my abilities. Try to capture some profit, and go from there. That's pretty much it. But I appreciate it, guys. Let's see the chat. Andre says, I'm thinking of going to stop trading the S&P. Zach, compare the two charts now. NQ versus ES. NQ seems so much cleaner, even the candles themselves. Yeah, it's preference a little bit. For me, NQ is, first off, it's very volatile in comparison. The contract size is smaller, $5 a tick versus $12.50 a tick on ES. What I find from NQ is it does pull a lot of these wicky large movements. I don't think it's cleaner than ES. I find ES to be slower moving. I find it to be trends a little bit tighter. It can feel like it's putting you to sleep, like me and Bruce joke about it. And maybe you need that volatility. Maybe you're on a little bit lower of a time frame type of deal. I don't know how much lower you'd be than a minute. But shooting for smaller moves, and that volatility is going to give you that, that movement to scalp quickly. It's just all about preference. They track similarly. They're both, U.S. indices, the major U.S. indices that everybody trades. NQ seems to be more popular than ES as far as what, a lot of the big guys are trading. But for me, coming over to ES and focusing on it for, really exclusively for this has been good. I started to get a real good feel for it. I like the way that it moves. Just a preference thing, I think. I don't think one's better than the other, or there's going to be a black and white answer there. It's just all about you. I'd say if you're a beginner on low time frames, NQ can feel a little bit more dangerous. It can move a little bit quicker. But yeah, day to day, the structure is different, So like I said, that NQ feels like it pulls these big wicky moves where it wicks up and down, back and forth, and pulls these fake out moves. ES will do that too. There'll be days where, we're in a nice uptrend, higher highs and higher lows, and, NQ follows that structure, and all of a sudden ES wicks below. But for me, and I have more experience on NASDAQ and Dow, or I did, coming from trading CFDs, than I do on ES. I was trading NAS 100 and US 30. But coming over here to futures and, getting comfortable, ES has been solid. Honestly, the move to ES for me was initially driven by moving to the 50K combines and trying to structure risk in a way that I felt was a little bit better to do, and having more flexibility. That kind of changed since Top Step X allows you to trade micros with the same overall position side, like purchasing power, I guess you'd say, as minis. So I could trade NQ with smaller size if I wanted to. So, but that was the initial real reason. And then I kind of stuck with it, for long enough. But, it's about finding what you want, what you like, and really just becoming a specialist in it. I've talked about that a little bit too. I've shifted my beliefs really into this year that I think someone that focuses just on one instrument every single day is going to have an edge. They're going to have an advantage over somebody that's back and forth between a number of different instruments. Coming from the Forex world and swing trading a little bit, I held the belief that, I could kind of just watch a lot of different pairs, have charts marked up. And maybe that's true for swing trading. Things are moving so much slower. You kind of almost need a little bit different pairs to have, conditions that are fitting your, your style of trading. But for low time frames, trading the 1 minute chart right at NYSE open, you kind of want to think more like, a guy that sits at a risk desk, at a trading desk on Wall Street. He's going to trade just gold. There's one guy that's going to trade gold. He's not going to trade platinum and silver and, crude oil. They're all going to have one guy or a team of guys that focuses on that. And I think that's because you become a specialist. You develop a relationship with it. You really start to understand how it moves, all the nuances around it, and, experiment with different things, different pairs, different indices, different contracts, and decide, what works for you, and then, and then trade that. That's kind of what I think has helped me, at least here so far on ES. So watching this trade play out, feel free to ask questions, guys. Keep talking in the chat. It's cool. It gives me stuff to talk about. I'm long here, 2 contracts, ES on the mini. Watching this structure starting to shift. I like everything that's happened so far. We broke up. This started to give me an indication we're going to move higher, pulled back down, reacted right from VWAP. Maybe this would have been a better entry, but, even right here would have been the like waiting for VWAP rejection and confirmation. Maybe I would have gotten long right here. I don't think I would have wanted to get long if we were rejecting right off of this had I waited. But this looks good so far. I don't have a clean target on Bookmap, which I'm trying to utilize more in my trading. If we continue up, I think, and we get above these highs, which I want to see us start to break above this level, get above pre-market high without really starting to reject hard off of that. If we get that, next area that I'm looking is, these highs from earlier in the day. I think, there's potential to get there. Again, if we start to see buyers continue to pull this thing higher. If we don't, we start to reject off this, I'm probably going to want to manage this trade a little bit more aggressively. I'm not going stop loss to break even yet. I don't ever like to move my stop loss farther away, kind of like a chess piece or a checkers piece. Once I move it up, I really don't want to move it back down. So I kind of wait to move it up. But if we came back down and needed to break below this low, I'd want to watch what happens, and I really wouldn't want to let it come all the way back down to this price level. I don't think that would be necessary to tell me that I'm wrong. We got orders on the book at 56.48 right here on Bookmap. I'm not going to show you guys because it'll jack up my screen. So, this could be an initial target, maybe for one contract. I don't like closing it out right there because, we're looking strong. I think we can continue up. Let me just see what this looks like. 56, 47 3/4. Yeah, maybe we take one off there and we secure some profit if we get up there. We'll watch this one and manage it. I actively manage my trades, with my discretion. It's the same approach. I apply consistency. I have guardrails and rules like I just talked about with stop losses that I apply, but I use my intuition and my discretion to actively manage my trades. Not great for beginners. You're applying your intuition, your discretion when you're wrong, and you will be wrong. Instead of just leaving it alone, it's harder on your psychology. It's harder on your mindset. But if you develop intuition and experience and you do it for long enough, you back test that way, and you understand that at the end of 100 or 1,000 trades, your P&L will be better off. You cutting your losers short and maybe managing your trades as price action and market structure develops, then go ahead and do that. But I recognize the difficulty and the dynamic of me saying, hey, you know what? I'm looking at Bookmap here and orders are stacking up and we got 56, 47 and 3/4. I'm going to close out. And I close out and I take my winner and, all good. You guys say great job. And then all of a sudden we just continue ripping. There's a piece to psychology there where it's hard on you. So, understand that with actively managing your trades. Just like everything else, you're going to be wrong. Your input is going to be wrong. You would have been better off leaving it at a certain point. But watching Bookmap, buyers trying to take this thing higher. I'm going to go with a limit sell right at the orders that I see on Bookmap to take one off if we hit that area.
Order filled.
That's one off, secured $137 of profit, and I'm going to let the rest run in profit. Do I want to go stop to break even? So here comes the nuances with moving the stop loss. Let's say we come up a little bit here. A lot of guys like to go stop loss to break even, and I do too, from a risk management perspective. But I try to understand, where is my entry? Do I think there's potential for this move to continue, and I would still want to be long if price came back to where I'm moving my stop loss? In this case, probably yes. I think there's potential for price to do what it's doing right now, pull one of these moves, come back down here, retest, this area, maybe even get close to session VWAP and then continue. But for the purposes of this trade and the time that we're in here, taking into consideration we're coming towards that New York lunch, I want to see this really slow grind up to the area that I'm looking at, potentially for a target on the second contract. Maybe these highs where I'd look to get out. I think there's potential, to see some kind of reaction there and then pull back. So I will go stop loss to break even. We got a win. We got a risk-free trade running now. If we come back, I'm making $12.50 on the second position. Nothing to write home about, but I'm protecting, capital, protecting my downside. I'm going to watch Bookmap and decide if I want to get out here near the highs. Wish I had a third contract on, because I'd close one out here and let leave stop loss at break even and let the remainder run or come back to stop me out. I'm gonna probably take it somewhere up here. There's definitely potential for this to be that slow grind to the upside. That's a real possibility. I don't know if we would pull back somewhere to this area first and erase that profit that's showing. Again, for the purposes of the live stream, and not for the live stream, because I'm going to trade how I'm going to trade, but for the purposes of the time that we're at here, looking at 11:27, and that I really want to be done around that New York lunch, I'm going to look for a target somewhere up here based on structure and Bookmap. And we're really approaching it right now. Orders kind of coming off the book. We got some. Yeah, this might skyrocket, guys, but I'm going to
Order
go ahead and
filled.
take it there, take my profit, turn this into a nice winning day. 636 is cool for me. Again, I think there's potential for this to just take off. I don't have the conviction or the reason to hold a trade that way. Not my approach. Again, had I had minis on here, micros on here, or another contract, I'd be taking one off here right around these highs, right around where Bookmap is showing me these orders are, right around this, below this 5650 level where I'm seeing it. Like I said, taking it a few ticks before, and leave one on to see if we're just going to continue or slow grind up. But from here, I think it's very reasonable that price pulls one of these moves, maybe continues up, maybe doesn't, pulls back down right to where my stop loss was at my entry, and then continues. I think it's actually likely to do that if it's going to continue up for the afternoon. So we got a win. Nice trade. Brings me from 300 to 636 across two accounts. Again, we're daisy chained together. Happy with that. Had this been on an XFA or two XFAs, we're surpassing the $200 a day. Really didn't have to take a lot of heat on that. We pulled back towards VWAP after we entered right here. Everything was showing me that's okay. All good. There we go with a nice crack above. But looking on Bookmap, I'll show you what I was looking at for that one. Really right at this level here, this is what I was saying when I was calling out 5648. Can you guys see this okay? Yeah. So here's still the orders coming back and forth on 5640 that we were talking about earlier. This thing looks like it might want to run. This is what I was looking at. It's not so clear cut here. If I zoom out like that, you can certainly see it right at this 5650 level. These orders sitting on the book. As we start to come into it, this algorithmic, if that's what it's called, I don't know if that's the right term for it, so I'm gonna put that disclaimer out there. But let's call it the liquidity that stays on the order book that tracks above and below price. That's not what I'm paying attention to. I'm paying attention to the orders that are seen resting in the market. These levels down here, these levels up here, which today we haven't had a whole lot of, but here's our 5650 again, right, that I'm paying attention to, which is the highs, lines up with market structure. As we started to come into that, where are we at here? As we started to come into that, you could see it start to lighten up a little bit and then start to fill. Here's your super zoomed in level right here. Not a whole lot, but you can see it. Again, you can see it a little bit clearer if I do like the more super zoomed out. This kind of level up here sitting 5649, 5650. Get rid of that. Like I said, man, potential for this thing to run. Here was my exit. Could have grabbed a couple more points on that last contract, but not holding for that one. Happy with my profit, and again, that's part of it. You got to decide: are you going to shoot for the moon on a lot of your trades or all of your trades? Are you going to leave a runner on? You're going to trail stop loss, or are you going to exit? There's a hindsight, is 2020. Hindsight capital, as the Top Step guys call it, something always better that you could do. But what I've actually been trying to get better at is cutting my winners, is to take my profits. If you go back through a lot of my live streams, even it's documented, I really built the habit early on of cutting my losers short and letting my winners run. And in the U.S. indices, trading the U.S. indices, especially recently in the recent markets, I've let a lot of winning trades come back to break even. I've let some small winning trades turn into losers. I didn't secure capital on one or the whole position profits when I had the opportunity to. And going back through and back testing and reviewing my data has shown me I should be using market structure to create a reasonable target, have a reasonable risk to reward from the initial capital, from the initial starting point, but not worry even so much on that. Again, because I'm actively managing my trades, I'm cutting a lot of my losers short. I'm almost never going to let it run all the way to, or it's less frequent that I'm going to let it run all the way to the initial stop loss. So take profit where you see fit. When market structure is telling you, we're coming up to this level, I think it's reasonable to get there. Secure that profit, lock it up, and don't shoot for the moon on every trade. and, let a decently sized winning trade turn into a break even. So that's what I've, tried to get a little bit better at. Most guys, I think, most beginners have the opposite. And early on, I had that. Soon as you see profit, you're cutting your trade and you're letting your loser run all the way to the stop loss, or you're moving your stop loss. God forbid you're doing that. And you really have to switch your thinking, your frame of mind there, and say, I've got to sit uncomfortably in profit and let this thing run and make sure my winners are larger than my losers, make sure I'm letting the profit run when I'm right on my position, and vice versa. When I'm wrong, when price is moving against me, maybe I look to cut that loser, or at the least not move the stop loss farther away and take on more risk than you were initially looking at. So just kind of explaining some of my trade management. I'm not a god at it. I don't think anybody is. Constant improvement, but that's kind of what I've been looking at doing, becoming a little bit better at securing my profit. Let the winning trade be a winning trade. Be happy with it. Don't be greedy. Don't have everything turn into a winner. Be sure you're going to, closing out my trade, I'm going to miss the huge moves. I'm going to miss the running to, another 20 points. That's okay, because more often than not, I don't get that. I get the market gets up there to my target where I'm thinking about closing out, that is, a reasonable spot in profit, and then it comes back to stop me at break even, or worse, comes back down into a loss. So, take everything into consideration and make your decision as you see fit. But yeah, man. So we had a nice winning trade somewhere around here. Something along those lines. By the time we actually closed out, initial stop loss was somewhere down here. That's how we had that one working. Closed out one somewhere in a little bit of profit. Closed out a second up here. So all good. Let's look at the chat. Good luck. Yeah. Are you trying to make around $200 a day? Right, brother? No, not particularly. I talk about the $200 a day because once you get into the XFA on any of the accounts, in order to qualify for a payout, the only thing you have to do, well, not the only thing, but you have to have 5 winning days. It doesn't have to be consecutive. You have to have 5 winning days of $200 or more. So you should have a frame of mind when you're trading the combines. Whatever you're going to do to pass the combines is fine. But once you get to the XFA, before you can take money out, you've got to have 5 $200 days. So you can't be someone that it does require a little bit of a shift in approach and risk management, because you might be a very profitable trader and you might take a lot of small losses and then one big winner. That's not going to get you a payout. You might be taking on small amounts of risk, losing, a higher portion of your trades. Let's say, for example, you have a negative, you have a 30% win rate, and you're taking on, $100 of risk or $200 of risk, and your winners, you're winning like, $2,000 or $3,000 or something. I'm just coming up with a random example. That's not realistic. But that could be profitable, and you could hit that and make money in an XFA, but you're not going to qualify for a payout. So part of what as I'm getting ready to start trading some XFAs, I got 4 of them ready to go, looking to pass a few more combines and just stack up a whole bunch of XFAs and have accounts sitting, and then, slowly get into XFAs and, have fun there whenever I want. Part of that is understanding you got to lock in 5 $200 days. So, how are you going to do that? Start to think in that mindset, something that makes sense. So that's the thought process there. It's what most guys that are trading XFAs talk about, because you got to hit that to start to take money out of the account. So, oh, you boys with you. I also see an ICT signal to get long. we were talking about whether and I'm not even gonna go into it. Never mind. Just go into the Discord and you'll see some funny conversations. I was just saying that to a buddy of mine. Yeah, no, all good, man. All good. Whatever works for you. I'll say that. Looks like a slow grind up day. Good job, my friend. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, another winning day. Another winning trade. Again, nothing huge. I'm not putting on a whole lot of risk on these trades that I've been taking. Traditionally, I'll put on more risk in the morning near NYSE Open as things are setting up in my favor. And I have just more conviction, more confidence in some of those trades. But that wasn't really a small amount of risk, two minis on ES. So, whatever we'll, as we see fit. But yeah, this looks like it could run. This looks like it has legs. Watching Bookmap again. Show you what Bookmap looks like one more time, and then we'll get ready to wrap this bad boy up. Take a look at that. Right? This is the stuff that I look at on Bookmap. This is the way that I'm utilizing Bookmap. We've got 55, right? 56, 55 in ES, starting to stack up with some orders. What does that look like on the chart? First off, obviously round psychological number. We all know about, round numbers, psychological numbers. It's above this high. If I was long, which I'm not right now, and, I'm looking left, there's no market structure. There's nothing to trade off of, right? We're at all-time highs. There's nothing out here. That can be very difficult, in my humble opinion. If I'm trading utilizing order flow, I've got an area to look for a target potentially. I got my 15-minute opening range high and low stuff over to the side because I wasn't utilizing that today with Pal talking. But let's see what happens at that level. Does that act like a magnet? Does that indeed pull price towards that? What happens when we get there? These are the questions that I'm starting to ask and pay attention to and want to collect a lot of data. I'm not a fan of jumping to conclusions. Someone asks, is Bookmap, making your trading better or more profitable? I can't say that for a pretty long period of time. I could tell you initially what I think and what I feel, but I'm realistic with everything. Adding tools, I'm not going to know that until I have data to support it. And if I'm going to talk about something, I want to have my own data to support it to say, hey, yeah, over a large number of trades, I've used Bookmap in this way, and this is what's happened. So just showing you guys, another example as I'm talking about it. Even if we zoom in, you can see that order stacking up right there. There's the order book. You can actually see the volume of orders that's there, where the liquidity is. I'm still arguing with everybody, all the ICT boys that say people commented on a couple of my last posts. Bookmap's useless. Liquidity is above highs and lows, and you don't need Bookmap. And ICT debunked Bookmap, or order flow is just spoofing and confusing. And I know where liquidity is. And my argument is, you might guess where liquidity is. You might even do that with some accuracy. But I can tell you where liquidity is if we're talking about at what price level orders are sitting on the market, and in what volume and in what time. There's tools like Bookmap. Bookmap's not the only one. There's plenty of other order flow tools you could use. There's traditional depth of market order book charts through your brokers. You don't need Bookmap. You could use something else. But if you're not using any order flow or volume, and you're just using a traditional candlestick chart, you can't tell me with any reasonable degree of certainty where liquidity is in my not even opinion. I don't think you can. Not when there's a tool that tells you where it is. That's just my gripe with everybody that's been commenting on my stuff, telling me I'm wrong. Or making really blatant statements about the exact places of where liquidity is without using any form of order flow. I'm not saying it has to be Bookmap, but are you using a tool or something that shows you where the liquidity is on the instrument that you're trading, at what price level and at what quantity and at what time? If you're not, and you're just using historical price and time, again, you can guess it, and maybe you guess it with some decent accuracy, and maybe you've cross compared it to order flow in the past, and you're okay with that. But that's what you're doing. You're assuming that, and there's tools out there that show you where it is. So That's my 2 cents there. Again, not making the order, not making the argument that order flow is necessary or that order flow will even help you more than it hurts you. I don't know that it will or won't. You might not need it at all. You might just need your market structure and price action. I might decide that in the future. That's not part of the discussion, but it's the way that liquidity is talked about. And over the last couple of days, I've realized that it's a lot within the ICT camp, the smart money boys. The way they talk about it and where it is and what happens when it gets there and how it was swept or filled or pools and all that type of stuff. And without using order flow and having a really negative view on order flow, claiming it's useless in a lot of cases, or it doesn't help you identify that, which is not correct. There's not a lot of things in trading that are black and white or incorrect or correct. Most of it is not. Almost all of it's not. It's gray area. But when it comes to discussing market mechanics and specific components in trading from a technical standpoint, there are things that are correct and incorrect. Like if I say ES is at, if the price right now on ES is trading at 56.42, it's not. It's trading at 56.52. It's right around there. We have that information. Everybody has that information. That's, something that would be right or wrong. There's objective things that are not out for discretion. Most of it's not. And I think there's a lot of discretion that's good. But yeah, take that as you will. And again, look, I have an opinion on I haven't studied a lot of ICT concepts or watched that dude's videos or all that stuff. Like my looking at it from a very brief overview and being uneducated on it, I think it's really complicated and overcomplicates with this hope of understanding, more of what's going on within the market than you even need to. And I think it's more confusing and more time spent than it needs to be. I'm a fan of keeping things much simpler and going about it in a much dumber guy type of way, man. Market's going up, buy. Here's my level. It came down to here, and I'm applying my discretion and deciding when to enter anyway. So, do I have to do 1,000 different things to make that decision? Probably not. I'm probably just going to confuse myself even more. I'm not a fan of it. If it were, and so all that first, if it works for you, awesome, man. Go for it. Keep doing what you're doing. I genuinely mean that. Whatever works for you or whatever your way of understanding the market is and the things that help you, the tools that help you can be very different from me. It doesn't have to be order flow. It doesn't have to be, these levels, your chart set up. You could go about trading so many different ways. Find what works for you. And it's probably not exactly what I'm doing. So I'm that's my belief. So if it's ICT and exactly that stuff, cool, man, go for it. No problem. I make jokes about it because I think a lot of the stuff is funny. But that's the way I believe. I'm open-minded with that. There's not a right or a wrong way, in my opinion, to go about trading. You have to find what works for you. There might be a right and wrong way about specific things that you say when it comes to the market from an objective standpoint, if it is indeed an objective factor in the market, when it comes to things like liquidity. But, whatever works for you, that's the deal. And find what works for you, because it's not going to be what works for me, and it's not going to be what works for everybody else. You have to experiment. You have to find things that fit your personality, your mentality, find the path of least resistance. Trading's hard enough as it is, figure it out in the most simple way. Just for curiosity, since you're no longer going to trade, take a look at the wick down that happened on Friday in gold. The down wick took a big chunk of all my accounts because I forgot about the news and had trades open, and all of them, even on futures, only registered and triggered the stop losses I have near the bottom. Was sad, bro, but with this ES trade now, I've just recovered. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Let's take a look at... All right, what am I looking at, Andre, here on gold? Take a look at gold, the wick down that happened on Friday. Again, I'm pretty much done for the morning right now, coming into the 12 p.m. session, so I'll take a look. We are looking at that, I'm assuming. That right there. Yeah, let's see. Can we come up with a why that happened? Um, let's see. Andre says, take a look at this wick that came down on gold. Let's go back to, I'm assuming that's a news event. That's what I'm looking at. Yeah, it's non-farm payroll. That's NFP, my brother in Christ. Yeah. That week down took a big chunk of my cash. I'm sorry that you had them on, man. You forgot that you had the trades on. That's good. Yeah, so there's big news events, right? Yeah, I'm sorry, dude. That sucks. And then it continued up, which actually is even more frustrating. But it wicked down below all this. Those big news events, those really volatile news events, tough stuff to trade around, bracketing orders, YOLOing accounts maybe, but for the most part, staying away. It's why I have a channel dedicated to this. If you're not in the free Discord, hop in. You'll get an alert every day. I tag everybody. I give you the news where I can tell exactly, this was coming up. You can't tell many things for certain in the market, and you can't tell what's going to happen and in what direction or at what volatility. But when NFP comes around, non-farm payrolls, unemployment, at 8:30 a.m., which is listed right here, this is where I went back to look at it, on Forex Factory. This is where I got that information from, 8:30 a.m. I just went back in time on this. Non-farm payroll, I'm going to expect some increase in volatility. This isn't for you, Andre. This is for other people listening. I'm going to expect some increase in volatility to occur, and I'm going to decide whether or not to stay in trades, how to structure my trades, the risk that I want to have on, because I can expect the next candle that prints at 8:30 a.m. Eastern is going to be larger than the other ones based on financial news. This is what I utilize, forexfactory.com. There's other sites. This tells you financial news of the day. If you guys don't know, this is where I pull it from. Tells you news that you got coming up. We had 10 a.m. Jerome Powell speaking. That's where that information came from, talking about that. Yeah, sorry that. Craig says, yeah, I'm going to wrap this one up here in like 5 minutes, guys. I appreciate you being on. We took a winning trade on ES, made some money. I'm glad to do it for another day. Keep hopping on. You'll see me take losses. You'll see stuff not work out. You'll see the good, the bad. You'll see the real side of trading. Thank you for being here. Hop in the free Discord if you're not already, and like the video and subscribe and comment and help me out, help the community out. If you are on here and you're in Discord, help us grow, brother. Help other people, get on board. Don't have to do anything. It's free. Free means free. Craig says, are you going to have an ICT channel in Discord? No, I'm not, Craig. I am not. I see dead orders. What happened to the SMC? Yeah, it was brutal. I always choose them well, but yeah, man. Yeah. So, yeah, man, another good trading session. Worked out okay. I would have liked to stayed long, like I was talking about in Discord, on my first trade here, which I was in, decently heavy, and captured the move to 56.50. Again, probably wouldn't have taken profit there. Probably would have been somewhere down here. I'm always realistic with what I talk about. Maybe 2 or 3 ticks below, like I was doing over here on the way up, as I'm targeting that liquidity from Bookmap, using depth of market. That would have been a little bit nicer, but we had Jerome Powell speaking, right here at 10 a.m. I didn't want to be holding through that just in case, we wick down. A little bit of volatility. Again, second trade worked out nice, pulled all the way back down, came back up, hesitated a little bit, looked like we were going to start to break above. I liked that. I liked paying attention to Bookmap coming all the way down here, right to the exact area to fill. The short trade would have played out really nicely. Gotta say, man, Bookmap has been wild to watch. Let's just say that. Came back up through and held for a nice winner here. Scaled out, nice. Could have held for a break of the high. More probable hit, from, in my humble opinion, not hard to quantify that, is below the high, and that worked out nicely. Took the win, made some money, profitable. This is across 2 accounts, so this is actually times 2. Copy trading to another combine. Got too many of these. Got to start getting closer to passing or failing them. This one's doing okay. But yeah, man, Thank you guys for being on. Quick disclaimer again, make sure you read it in the description and on my site, realdealfutures.com. I'm not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice. Most traders lose money. You're probably going to lose money if you start trading, even in a sim account, which this is a combine, which technically is in a sim environment. Let's be clear about what we're doing here. Hop in the free Discord, and if you want to work with me one-on-one, I don't push that. I do have an outlet for that. I'm happy to talk to you about it. Book a free 30-minute call. That's the only thing I charge for, is working with me one-on-one, trading with me live every morning at 9 a.m., before 9 a.m. for NYSE Open on Zoom. Multiple hours of one-on-one calls together to work on everything that goes into profitable trading, developing your strategy, your risk management approach, when you're going to journal and how, holding you accountable, your mindset, your psychology, understanding everything that goes into it, identifying areas that you're struggling with, and trying to make real measurable improvements over the course of a month, working together one-on-one. I'm happy to do that with you, man. Happy to tell you what real trading looks like and try to give you all that I possibly can that's gotten to me to where I am now, and shorten your path to get there. If you're dead broke, you don't want to do that, you don't know anything about it, that's cool. Hop in the free Discord. I don't gatekeep anything. You see me answering questions on here. You see me showing you my strategy. There's no secret or something that I'm hiding that I do behind the scenes for some odd reason. I would be doing it here so I could show you that I was better than I am. But I show you everything. I answer questions, give you guys news, analysis, my levels, everything that goes into trading in that community for free. It's growing rapidly, and I've got a lot of things cooking over the next couple months that I feel are going to grow it at an exponential rate. Hop in there now, ask me questions, hop on these lives, ask me questions, and let's make some progress, man. That's the goal. Craig, Andre, everybody that was in here, Bruce didn't even ask questions today. Kyle, thank you guys, both Andres. Thanks for hopping on. Thank you everybody else for watching. I appreciate you guys being here. I'll be back tomorrow, man. Let's run it back. Let's keep this thing going. I'll see you guys then. I'll see you in Discord. Have a great rest of the day.